good.
You don't have the...
Oh, yeah, do the banner. There we go. All right. All right, you can go.
Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott. Here we are again this fine weekend. I'm here with my son, Charles Scott Jr.
How you guys doing today?
And the name of the program is called Can We Talk? Every week we give you some information as to what you can do to help your decision on as far as buying a house a little easier, and also we tell you a little bit more information about the economy and some of the things that are occurring from week to week.
Yes, very true. And as you see in the past week, a lot of things have changed. Like we say every week, but things are changing. But we are monitoring those changes because, we want to keep everybody informed.
What's happening right now is that the world is going through many changes that, people say history repeats itself. But I think some of the things that I'm seeing, I've never seen before. There's cycles, things go up, they come down, the stock market goes up, the stock market comes down.
Yes.
But we're seeing a lot of things that are happening in governments across the world, and so many things are interrelated. In other words, years ago, the countries were separated, and what happened in one country pertaining to housing or the economy, you'd read about it in the paper or watch it on TV. Now things are instant.
Yes, as we see, like for example, like we always say, the Ukraine war and the gas prices in Russia. I mean, it's affecting our day-to-day lives. People are paying nearly $5 a gallon here in Connecticut.
Everything happens and overnight. In other words, it's like you talk about gas prices. You see something happen, and the minute you see it happening, the men over there on the ladders are automatically changing the price of the gas.
Yeah.
And the guy across the street, he's changing the price of his gas. So that, you used to be able to go to one gas station and everybody would say, well, this gas station has the lowest cost gas. So you go to another city or up the street or around the corner. Now it's like they're all on the cell phone talking to each other, and everybody raises the price at the same time.
They all stay around the same price. We see that.
And we're seeing that happen also in the world as far as finance. As I said, we're in real estate, and we see it happening where the interest rates go up, and then all of a sudden the banks follow.
Yes, right. But what do you see in the past 2 weeks? We're seeing interest rates approaching 6% right now. And, we haven't been that high in over a decade.
But we still encourage people to buy. Why? Because the alternative is to pay rent, and the rent's going up also. It's not like there's a safe haven where you say, well, I'm not buying a house because I'm going to stay where I am and rent. So the rent goes up, and now in many cases the rent might be going up maybe even higher than what you're paying for a mortgage.
Oh, most definitely. What we see, most people see after they get pre-approved, they come to us and they say, they look at the numbers and say, wow, my mortgage is this? I'm paying more in rent now than what my mortgage would be.
So I encourage people to still go out there and buy. We had a lady that came in this week, remember?
Yes.
And I was encouraging her and showing her and figuring out how much rent she's paid and how much she will continue to pay, and explain to her the main thing is her mortgage is a fixed rate. That means that the principal and interest on that mortgage will stay the same from the first day to the 30th year. So you don't have to worry about the rates going up.
Exactly. Unlike rent, when every year you renew your lease, there's a chance your landlord might be bumping the rent up.
I have people that I even talked to today who called me and said, oh, I see where the interest rate went up. What's that mean to my mortgage? Is my mortgage going to change? I said, no, you have a fixed mortgage. It will not affect you at all.
Not at all.
So you're good. And they're like, oh, thank you for selling me this house. I don't have to worry about that. All my friends' the rent's all going up, and they're worried about what they're going to do. I said, well, no, you don't have to worry about that. Everything is going to stay the same.
Exactly. And like we say, when you're rent, you're paying the landlord's bill. You're buying the house for the landlord. And when you have your own house, you're paying the mortgage every month. You're actually going to be building equity. So when you go to sell that house, hey, you're either breaking even or possibly making a profit.
Right. So there's a lot of things that are occurring right now in the financial industry. You see what's happening with the cost of goods. Cost of goods have gone up, and until they replenish those supplies, you will see the prices will stay up. We went by a car dealership the other day, and I looked over and I saw practically
no cars,
and I had to go and look to see if they were going out of business. But it's just a matter of trying to get the inventory. And I have a friend of mine who purchased a car 3 months ago and still waiting for the car.
Still on order.
Still, I said to her, I said, well, you know, by the time you get the car, it's going to be a used car because it'll be a year later, so it'll depreciate you.
Yeah,
You
true.
can trade it in for a new amount.
Right? It'll be a year before you get it.
But, you know, no matter what, with all of that, it's still a good time to get out there to sort of see what the rates are going to be. We don't encourage you to not do anything. To do nothing means that you then are a recipient of what happens.
Exactly. We tell people to go out there and, you know, possibly, this is actually one of the best times to find a deal right now.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Now is a good time to find a deal. And you say, well, why would now be a good time to find a deal with the interest rates going up? Because also occurring with that, you have some sellers out there that are reducing their prices.
Yes.
And they're reducing their prices. So you want to look, you just, more than anything, you got to have an experienced person working with you. Someone
Yes.
who knows the ins and outs of no matter what it is that you do, that can give you financial advice. There's no guarantee in any of this, but
No.
you know, you try and figure out what you're going to do. And even when it comes to investments, we encourage everybody to diversify.
Yes.
If you want to do, if there, you know, we give you some advice today. I would say that, you know, they always tell you to diversify your portfolio. Don't go strong in just any one thing.
No eggs in one basket. All
That's
your
right.
eggs.
Don't just do one thing.
Yes.
Many of the people that we're addressing out there today, you may have 401ks for your retirement. And I'm amazed at how many people have 401ks and they never ever look to change the 401k around to suit the economy.
Exactly.
By that I mean you have your 401k, if it's invested in different types of investments, you should sit down with whoever it is that's giving you advice and decide what's best for you. Maybe you want to put some money here, some money here. You change it around here, change it around there. But you have by taking an active role in it, the economy changes. So maybe you want to change. And even with your own life, you got to figure out ways of diversifying so that there's always an up and a down. I always tell everybody, figure out what's the advantage.
What's trending at this point? What can I do to make money now versus, you know, in the past? But what I was going to say, what we were going to talk about also today is our home series as far as fixing up your home.
In the last 3 series, we talked about some of the things that you can do.
Living room. Now we're going to cover today is the basement.
Exactly. What we're doing is basically laying a foundation if you have a home out there, and if you want to add equity to it or add value to that particular house. These are series that we can tell you some things that you can do to increase the value of that property without spending a ton of money.
Yes, cost-effective strategies.
Exactly. Now, how does that help you? Well, if you're looking to sell a house, it'll increase the value of your house. If you're not looking to sell the house, then it's increasing the equity. What's the equity? It means your house is worth more.
Exactly. You can go in that house, you look in the basement. It may just be a bare basement, concrete floor, you know, let's say wood panel walls. You see that a lot in some basements. You can look at that and say, maybe I should buy this house and fix it up myself. Don't look for the house that's already completed, because then you're paying for their improvements.
Right. And the thing is this, I always implore everyone, no matter what, if you're going to do any improvements where you're going to deal with plumbing, electrical, changing the structure, doors, get a permit.
Yes, yes.
Get a permit. What's that mean, get a permit? Well, the first thing you have to do is decide what you want to do. Maybe I want to change a door from this side of the room to the other side. Maybe I want to put some lighting in to brighten the place up. Maybe I want to put a bathroom in the basement. So now, first thing you have to do is do a diagram. Now, a homeowner is allowed to do their own diagram, or you can hire someone, such as a draftsperson.
Yes.
And what they do is they get a piece of paper out and they just draw what they're envisioning in their mind. Because here's what happens with a lot of people. They go to City Hall and they say, I want a permit, I'm doing my basement over. And he looks at the person, he says, well, you know, what do you plan on doing? And you start explaining to them. Well, they don't know, they can't envision what you're envisioning. They don't know, they've never been in your house. They don't know what it looks like. So that's not going to cut it. You can't tell someone what you plan to do. It's like me telling you what to do, what I want you to do, and then I don't come back until you finish it.
Exactly.
I might say, what is this? This is nothing like what I wanted. So the first thing that you do is they're going to tell you to draw a diagram
Yes.
of what you want to do. You may want to put a door there and take the door from here. Well, where the door is at might be supporting the floor upstairs.
Very true.
You go in with a sledgehammer and knock the door down, the whole
How a house
second
is
floor
coming-
might fall down.
Exactly. That's why we tell people to be safe, Like my father said, you go to City Hall, you come up with a plan, you come up with a drawn-out plan, and you explain to them what you want to do to your structure.
Exactly, because then what happens is that if you're going to be changing the doors, if you're going to be changing the windows, then you may say, okay, I want to put in a bathroom. Well, you have to change the plumbing because you have the pipe that goes out into the sewer. So you've got to be able to connect to that sewer pipe. Well, remember, water doesn't go upstream, it
Exactly.
comes downstream.
Downstream.
So if you're going to connect to the sewer pipe, and the sewer pipe's all the way over on the other side of the room, and the sewer pipe is taller than the toilet, you got to say, well, what can we do there? Well, guess what? Years ago, that used to be a problem because you used to figure out, there's only certain places that you could put your toilet.
Exactly.
Now, they have all these new little systems. I mean, they got a little pump that you could sit right next to the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
The water, you flush it, it goes into the water, and the water can pump it right up to the ceiling.
Right through the ceiling,
right up
across
to
the
pipe,
room.
across the room. So there's all sorts of ways and different changing things that you can do mechanically today that you could not do before. That's where when you do your permit, you go and you figure out, what it is that you want to do. You may say to the person at the building department, well, I'm going to put the toilet here, and he's going to say, well, how are you going to get the water up? Well, with the plan,
Exactly.
you already say, okay, this pump right here is going to pump it up. He says, oh, okay. And then you may say, okay, I want to put lighting in. Well, now you have to leave the building department and go to the electrical department.
Exactly. That's what my father was saying. When it comes to a basement, or let's say any structure in your house, you want to pull permits because let's say you go to sell this house months later or years
Oh,
later.
that's important.
When the bank comes out there or sends the appraiser out there, he's going to be looking for these permits. He's going to say, oh, this was changed. This was upgraded. This was moved from here to there. And if you didn't pull those permits, you're going to have to do it anyway. They're going to send you down to City Hall. So why delay that when you can do it now?
Here's the worst part. Suppose you decided to put a drop ceiling in the basement. And in the drop ceiling, you decide to put lighting. And now you run wires across the drop ceiling and down into the fuse box, and you plug it in. Well, that's not too bad. But suppose you decided to run the wiring through the 2x4s, and then you put the sheetrock on the 2x4s, and you put a light switch there. So now you call the electrical inspector. The electrical inspector comes out, and he looks, and he says, okay, I have to see all the wiring. You say, oh, the wiring, well, I put the sheetrock up. You know what the electrical inspector is going to tell you? Tear the sheetrock
Yes,
apart.
he will.
How can he okay something that he can't see?
Exactly.
So now you've got to get a hammer and rip out all the sheetrock that you
All that
already
hard work
put
for
up
nothing.
around that wiring in order for them to see that it was wired properly. How do they know what's behind the wall? So what you're doing now is you're tearing the whole basement apart again.
Counterproductive. You're losing money at that point.
And what if he says this is wrong? You can't do it.
Exactly.
Now you got to rip everything out.
Everything has to come out.
So that's why when you go to get the permit, you're going to show him a drawing as to what you're going to do.
Exactly.
And he may say, well, don't put the wire here, put the wire there, or put the wire here. So now you know what they are expecting you to do. And not only that, it's for safety.
For safety also, like my father said, you pull the permits for safety and because of legal reasons. You want to make sure that when you sell the house, everything is basically legit and the appraiser can see where you pulled those permits. Now, some other upgrades they can do to a basement, some people put we see the tile floors you see at Home Depot, those designs right there. People looks like hardwood floor. It's more like a vinyl piece. They like puzzle pieces.
And before you do that, what's the other thing you got to make sure that you're concerned with? Make sure there's no water coming into
yes.
the basement.
Very true.
Why go and put the tile? I've seen where people put tiles all over the floor, and they put it down in the summer when it's dry, and then all of a sudden you get the winter that the water table comes up, and you have a
Snow
big
melts. Oh.
snow melt, and you have a big rainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
The water gets underneath the glue and the tiles, and all your tiles pop up.
Pop up and warp. Very true.
Now here you got a basement with all the tiles with water all underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know that water may come into your basement, then that's another step that you take to prevent that.
Exactly.
You may call a company, and what they do is they go all around all four walls, and they put a little trench, and then they fill it up with little pipes, and now no water comes into the basement.
Correct.
That's one way of doing that.
And what's the other way? A sump pump, I
Sump
believe.
pump. Some
Yes.
people take a sump pump, and what they do is they have the area where the water is all going to run to. They dig a hole, and then they put a little pump down there.
Mm-hmm.
But the pump works the opposite way of a toilet. When you flush the
yes.
toilet, then the water comes back up inside the tank, and then it stops.
Mm-hmm.
With a sump pump, what happens is that when the water fills up, it turns the pump on.
Exactly.
And the pump pumps the water out of that little hole and pumps it outside the house so that the water doesn't build up downstairs into your basement. It's called a sump pump.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's one little caveat with a sump pump. Sump pump requires electricity.
That's true.
I've had a situation where we're selling a house. You can imagine this one.
Yeah, I've heard this.
You know what you're talking about. We're selling the house,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner of the house decides, well, I'm moving out, so therefore I'm going to turn the electricity off. So now we have a huge rainstorm. The water floods into the basement, and it has nowhere to go because the owner decided to turn the electricity off ahead of time. Sump pump doesn't come on, basement floods, you got a foot of water in your basement.
Man, that's the stuff of nightmares.
There's a foot of water in the basement. This is the day before the closing.
Yo, my goodness, that's
So,
right.
If you're selling a house and you have a sump pump, make sure you don't turn the electricity off until the other owner transfers it in their name
Not until after closing.
after the closing. So these are some of the things that you have to be concerned about. These are some of the tips. Just that one tip that I gave the audience out there. How many people out there are probably thinking, oh my God, I'm selling my house. I better not turn the electricity off because
Exactly.
I got a sump pump down in my basement. And I'm sure that you've seen all of the TV ads where you see people with buckets and there's
Oh, yeah.
got the water, throwing the water out of their basements, or they had to go rent the pump and they're pumping all the water out.
Dry in the basement, yes, yes.
So that's another way of eliminating that. Some people, what they do is they go a step further and they waterproof the walls.
Yes, that's true too.
And outside, if you really wanted to go all out, which you see, there's different remedies here. So if someone comes to you and they say they want to do the most expensive way, what we're doing is giving you ideas of things that you can do without breaking the bank.
Exactly, affordable things.
Affordable things.
Yes.
Some people may want to come and dig a trench around the entire outside of the house and put rock there to drain the water. So that's not necessary.
Exactly.
There's other things that you can do. So as you can see, there's many ways that you can save money and still make your house affordable.
Exactly. Now, we were going to stick on the basement, but what a basement mean, there's certain things we've covered already. The floor, I would say the wood panel, you can just paint the wood panel, paint that. Well, I would say, I wouldn't say white. We see a lot of grays now. Everybody loves a gray paint.
Everybody loves that off gray.
Oh, they love that. The gray floor tiles, the gray walls. People love those colors. And actually, that's more, curb appeal, not curb appeal, but attraction for your house. Because you got to think about it. People look at these houses on apps like Zillow, Redfin. That's their first impression of the house, or actually the photos. They like the photos, and they scroll down, they read the description. They say, oh, maybe we should go see this house.
Now, another thing, too, is that for the older generation out there, everybody loved carpet.
Carpet
Carpet was the biggest thing going. You see all of the ads on TV, buy one room, get one room free, one day and the carpet's down. And, that used to be the old thinking, and it still is if you like carpeting.
Yes.
But today's generation, they're concerned about asthma. They've been taught all about carpet stains.
You gotta clean it, maintain it.
If you got a pet.
Oh, if you got a pet.
Oh my goodness, you got a pet.
Oh, man,
or let's say
accidents.
Accidents, and
Very true.
And you got the dog, you got the cat, and all of that. but more so with carpet, and people are concerned if their small children have asthma and they're sneezing and coughing. So people like hardwood floors.
And what people don't know is they'll go in some of these houses. You know, if you're in the house, go in the corner house and see if you can peel up the carpet. Sometimes there's brand new hardwood floors underneath some of this carpet.
Exactly.
You're like amazed, like, wow, never been touched. You shine it up, it looks beautiful. And that's real hardwood floor. They don't make them like that no more.
I'm glad you brought that out.
Yes.
It's amazing, but my son is right. A lot of the homes years ago, when they built the homes, they put nice, shiny hardwood floors throughout the whole house.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people moved in, and they went and had the whole house put new carpet throughout.
Wall to wall.
Yep, and I remember that. I remember those days, and I thought that, I remember my uncle and my aunts had homes, and oh man, I used to love to go in there, and whoever had the thickest carpet, it felt like you were just, gliding along. You take your shoes off and walking in your socks, and it was nice and soft and bouncy. And I said, and we used to even judge the homes by how expensive they were, by who had the thickest carpet.
Oh, yes.
Not knowing at that time it wasn't the carpet, it was the foam underneath that gave it the bounce.
Yeah, that's what gives it the comfort.
The padding, they called
it. The padding, yes.
That's what you paid for, was the padding.
You'll feel some carpets feel like you feel like you're on concrete.
Right.
The cheaper ones.
So now, many of the homes that we go into, and we sell, people say, oh, I want hardwood floors, and we go into a corner and we pull up a part of the carpet. Guess what's underneath there?
Hardwood floors.
Hardwood flooring. So don't be fooled by that. There's a lot of these homes have hardwood flooring that's already underneath there, so you can improvise and pull out the carpet, shine up the hardwood flooring, and it's already there. And that adds, it's amazing how things turn around and things go around.
Oh, yes, definitely. But what was another thing we saw? A lot of houses you'll see, if it's a dated house, wallpaper. You see wallpaper in certain, whether it be the bathroom, bedrooms.
Exactly.
And honestly, wallpaper, you don't see that in new construction. People want white walls, gray walls. So if you have a house, you see the wallpaper, maybe someone may not want to buy that house with the wallpaper, but maybe you should, because then you can go in there and change it.
Exactly.
And make it what you want, or make it what you think will have a better resale value down the line.
And what you just said there, one of the things that we try to teach people is to look for value that you can add without having to pay a lot of money for.
Exactly.
You can go to places like Home Depot and Lowe's and these places, and you rent these steam machines.
Oh yes, that's what it's called.
When you look at wallpaper and you're trying to peel it, you're like, oh, I'll never get that off. Well, they got a machine. The machine just goes up and down. It's like a vacuum.
Yes.
And the steam comes out of it, and it loosens up the glue, and then you just peel it right off.
Never try to peel wallpaper off. You're never going to get it right.
Get it even.
It's going to break. It's been there for decades.
Get the steam machine.
Steam machine.
So we just gave you another tip.
Yeah, don't go buy it. Just rent it. Rent it.
Yep, don't buy it.
Go out, do the rooms you need to do, and then you can begin painting at that point, after you clean the walls, obviously.
Exactly. So you see, there's different ways that you can do. What we're trying to do is just give you all of these different ways that you can improve the value of your house. And even if the values and the cost of the homes have gone up, this is a way where you can go in, buy the house, even if it costs a little bit more than you anticipated,
Exactly.
and then turn right around and still get added value by doing these things, which will increase the value of the house that you're buying. So this is how you can get ahead. You don't go out, or I can't say you don't, depends on, some people say, well, I don't want to do that, I just want to pay top dollar. Well, you can do that and pay for someone else doing all these things for you. But remember, if the market comes down a little bit, then you're underwater. You paid more. The guy next door, he's making out because he's not in all of that debt that you're into. So there's different ideas, different things that you can do. But remember, when we go to sell a house, like my son said, you want to make sure you pull that permit.
Yes, very true.
We had a situation recently, and luckily the people, it wasn't too much of a disaster.
Yeah.
And that was a particular case where the customer is buying the house, and they did the deck. They did the outside deck, and they put up a new deck, and they did not get a permit.
Due to COVID, they were saying that the guy wouldn't come out.
So they didn't have a permit. So now they want to sell the house, and then
The bank sent the appraiser.
Remember that? The bank sent the appraiser out, and the appraiser said, where's the permit?
He could tell the deck was brand new, and he went to City Hall and said, hey, no permits. We need permits for this in order for it to be safe.
And what happened?
The bank read that on the fine line. Okay, contingent on finding the permits. So at that point, it's up to the seller to rush down to City Hall, get the permits, hope the guy is down there to give you the permits or even schedule an inspection. But what we're saying is this is all could have been prevented if they got the permits from the get-go.
And luckily, this was a city that they really didn't have a lot of new construction.
Exactly.
Remember, it's not as simple as what you said, run down and got the permit. Sometimes it may take a week
Yes.
or two before that inspector from the city is going to come and even look to see if you did it the right way.
Very true.
Luckily, in this particular case, the people were aware that they were going to need a permit. They reinforced the deck, made sure it was okay, and the inspector from the city came out and okayed everything.
Yes. Now I would say that's like lottery ticket luck. The way that
They were
worked.
lucky. They were lucky. What if they had enclosed the wiring and had to
Oh,
rip everything
man.
apart? So hopefully we've given you some tips here that can save you quite a
Exactly.
bit of money as to what you're looking to do out there. And maybe you want to add a little bit to that
Yes,
when
and
we
what we're
close
going
out.
to do is we're going to continue this series. As you see, we've gone from the kitchen to the bathroom, living room, basement. What we're going to do is also tell you how you can spruce up the outside of the house and make that more curb appeal and add more value and equity to your house.
So until next week, hopefully today we've given you some insight, and we want you to consider it. Go to YouTube, look up our website, look up
yes.
some of our other previous sessions that we've had, and you can look up Tri-State Realty. Again, this is Charles Scott Jr. Until next week, God bless. God bless. Shalom.
Amen.